Hey, everybody. We are two comic book dudes. Just wanted to give you a quick introduction to who we are and why you should even care. Why should you listen to us? Why should you hear us talk about comics or movies or games or toys or books or comics or, yeah, I said comics twice because they're very important.
They are. And they're in the title of everything. So.
That's right. Comic Booked. That's right. So I'm Aaron, editor-in-chief of Comic Booked.
Hey, everybody. Justin, managing editor over at Comic Book.
And we wanted to give you just a brief rundown of who we are. I've been involved in comics for probably 30 plus years now, either reading them or working. Had my own shop for a while, a couple years. I've been working on this site now for going on 3 years now as either a writer, managing editor, or editor-in-chief. So I've got a lot of background in doing that. Extensive background as far as education wise and writing and, managerial stuff. So, I kind of know my way around all of that kind of thing. Played video games since I was 4, read books forever, played with toys forever, all that kind of stuff. So I'm been immersed in that all my life. So nice. That's me. I love movies and I've watched, tons of movies. So.
Yeah, I've watched a lot of movies too. But yeah, same thing with comic books. I probably started reading in the late 80s and read all the way up until about 2000, worked at a comic book store for a little while also. Then I fell off, and then I've been back into comics for 3 or 4 years now. And I've been working on comicbook.com for over a year and a half. Mm-hmm. Good solid year and a half. But yeah, same way, And since getting back into it, like just the explosion of everything, now I'm into everything, pops and games, a little bit of anime here and stuff, so it's great.
It's funny. I mean, I've been involved in it enough to see the ups and downs of the industry a couple times now. We had in like the 80s, late 80s, early 90s, you really had that bubble, and then you had the drop out of the 90s.
Right. The 90s, the big boom.
Yeah. And early 2000s, you had things start picking up again, and there was a little growth there in the 2000s, and then you had kind of a bottom out at the end of 2000, and then you just had this upswing in the 2010s. I mean, these last 4 to 5 years have been huge for the comic industry.
Yeah.
The ability for people to publish electronically online, that has just completely blown this market into something brand new. People can come up with an idea, get it put together and get it published within just a very, very short amount of time, where before you were locked into either your ability to fund your own printing and distribution or who you knew and how you could get into the industry to work with some of the big publishing companies. So
yeah, you had 2 options most of the time.
Yeah. It's funny to think about, the limited number of comics that were out in the 70s, 80s, 90s, even in the 90s, there was nowhere near the selection of comics that you can get now.
Oh yeah,
it's just amazing. I mean, there were indie stuff. There was so many different indie companies in the '90s that were putting things out regularly, and you still had Marvel and DC doing the big stuff, but you had all these other little companies doing things and trying to make their way in the market. And just it seemed like they were always hitting that roadblock. They were always going to be the indie companies and never really go anywhere, even though they had great stuff. Now, though, I mean, you've definitely got companies that would be considered indie companies that are, easily rivaling Marvel and DC for a lot of stuff.
Yep. Image is right up there. Image is right up there. And they're the ones who kind of started the crazy boom in the 90s with everybody going over. So that I remember that and being just so into it, all these Image comics from Lee, McFarlane, and Liefeld, and you're just like, these are amazing. Marvel and DC junk. And where are all those Image books now? All those first-run titles are gone.
In the 25-cent bin at your local comic shop.
Oh, it's so horrible. Those are near and dear to my heart.
Yes. Yep. It was funny because I saw a guy selling a lot of old Spawn comics, like 1 through 20, for like $30. So I'm thinking, I'm going to buy those. Just because, they're great.
Like Cyberforce up here. I got the first full run of it for like $10.
Yeah.
It was like something books,
Pretty funny. I know all the stuff that I was like, oh, I'm going to get this because it's so cool. And Spider-Man, when Spider-Man launched his own the regular Spider-Man title,
Yeah.
and it had all those different bagged covers. Everybody's like, oh, this is cool. I got to get 3 or 4 of these, or a couple of these copies, and this special cover. I mean, now you can buy them. $3 you can get a copy of Spider-Man #1 from the '90s. So it's
They printed
too funny.
so many of those books.
Yes. But just great stuff. I mean, and there was always that underground indie world out there still, whether it was, Cry for Dawn books back in the '90s, or if it was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Eastman and Laird's baby that came out in the '80s. That kind of stuff is always going to be there, and there's still so much of it, and there's so much more access to it now. Like before, if you didn't live in a big city, you couldn't get those books. Yep. Because they just weren't available at local comic shops, smaller towns and that kind of thing. Now, with the internet and with, people being able to go out and electronically buy this stuff, you can get it everywhere. So it's awesome. Yep. It's just a really different world. Somebody I was talking with the other day, they're like, I just see this I see us on a bubble again. And I see the drop coming soon. I see the crash coming soon. I'm like, no, this is a different world. We have changed from what, back then. People are like, oh, comic books. Those are for kids.
Right.
A comic book movie once in a while, that's kind of cute, but it's nothing. I mean, now comic books are an accepted, literature in society. They're accepted medium. Comic book movies are the blockbusters.
Everybody who was young reading them still reads them.
Right.
So now they're part of, and they're having their families now read them. So it's expanding in a way that it didn't in the past, I guess.
Yep. It's true, and it's become such a part of culture now that to have a comic book movie, to have a cinematic universe,
right?
I mean, how close did we ever get to that? The 3 old Ninja Turtle movies. I mean, now we have this cinematic universe that Marvel's created. We have a TV universe that DC's created, and a cinematic universe that they're working on. I mean, that whole idea was unheard of back in the '80s and '90s. It just wasn't going to happen. But now it's just so many things are intertwined. It's cool.
Yeah, like not to mention an indie, from an indie book, Image. Now we have The Walking Dead on TV that has gone crazy, and we've got more independence going and being optioned for TV shows and movies and stuff like that. So it's expanding, and I think it's just great, especially Valiant, who was one of our casualties from the '90s, and now it's back better and stronger than they ever were.
Yeah, for sure. They're one of the best companies. I mean, we have been doing regular reviews of Valiant and Xenoscope, and as far as quality stories, great art, and solid production, I mean, Valiant just tops that chart. They are on time every time. They have great books. There've been some stuff that have happened that made people not happy, with limited runs on certain things, but you get over it. When 90% of their books are great and 10% of their books 1 month are bad, it's not that they're bad. It's just people get mad about it. Yeah. I still think they're a great company. So it's cool. But yeah, we just wanted to give you just a brief introduction as to who we were, talk about comics a little bit. Hope you kind of understand a little better where we're coming from. We took the comic book dudes because it's comic booked, and we may have other people join us in the future, but we've got a ton of stuff. I think we're over 100 videos now that we've done this year. Reviews of comics, reviews of movies. We did an Ant-Man review. We've done a Star Wars The Force Awakens review now. Video game reviews. Game reviews, toy reviews. I mean, we put together toys.
Writers and artists.
Yep, amazing interviews that we've done. Not that the interviews themselves were amazing, because it was just us talking to them, but the fact that we were interviewing these amazing people. Comic creators, game creators. We've talked to some cool people. Even some off-the-wall kind of stuff, like the Escape Entertainment guy, up in New York, that has this company that does, put you in a room, lock you in there, then you have an hour to escape with a group of friends. It's really a cool idea, and it's something neat, and it's something sort of comic booky. So just cool stuff like that we try to take out.
Definitely.
Yep. So, all right, check out the rest of the page. Please like, share, subscribe, and definitely leave us comments and let us know what you think about the videos. We really appreciate that.
Yep. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, thanks. You know, Justin, we always forget to talk about one thing.
What's that?
Our t-shirt store.
Right.
You can buy comic book t-shirts at tpublic.com. We'll put a link in the comments or in the section down below for everybody, but you can go and get really cool. We have 3 different styles out right now. Comic book
quality
t-shirts.
shirts. I'm wearing one right now from that company.
Yep, they have some great stuff. Even if you don't buy a comic book shirt, there are a ton of other things out there that they have amazing quality, really great stuff, and just in time for Christmas, right?
That's what you need.
So definitely check that out. Again, like, share, subscribe. We love you. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you later.
Have a good one, everybody.